SpaceX just broke the tower, not the rocket. The same chopstick arm designed to catch a returning booster, cracked, damaged overnight, repaired in secret, and they are still launching. 3 days ago, 33 Raptor III engines fired simultaneously at a brand new launch pad. 20.3 million pounds of thrust, the most powerful rocket ignition in human history. And it was so violent, so unimaginably loud, that it physically broke a piece of the launch infrastructure on contact. Look at the base of Pad 2 right now. Look at those mist clouds exploding outward in both directions. That is the new dual flame trench fighting 9,240 tons of raw force, and it barely held. Here is what nobody is saying out loud. The previous version of this booster, Booster 18, never even made it to the pad. It exploded during a ground test. SpaceX scrapped it, built an entirely new rocket, and now they're launching that replacement in days from a pad that just took damage with hardware that has never flown once. Stay right here, because what SpaceX is attempting in the next few days is either the greatest engineering achievement since the moon landing, or it ends in a fireball that grounds the entire program. To understand why this launch is in a different category from everything before it, look at the engine bay. No shielding, barely any protection around the engines at all. On older boosters, the entire base was wrapped in a heat-resistant shroud to stop the engines from destroying each other. Gone, stripped completely. That is because Raptor 3 runs so clean, so efficiently, that the shroud became unnecessary dead weight. Each one produces 280 tons of thrust, all 33 together 9,240 tons. 20.3 million pounds of force pointed straight down into a pad that was only tested for the first time 3 days ago. Now look at the upper stage, Ship 39. This is the first V3 Starship ever built. It is taller, it holds more propellant, and on its nose it has external docking ports, the physical hardware required for orbital refueling. Why does that matter? Because without orbital refueling, Starship cannot reach the moon. Artemis cannot happen. NASA's entire lunar architecture collapses. The V2 ships that flew all of last year, every single flight you watched, could carry roughly 35 metric tons to orbit. V3 carries over 100. That is not an upgrade. That is a completely different rocket wearing the same name. But here is the problem. Nobody has ever flown this thing, and the pad it is sitting on just got damaged by its own test fire. And what happened to the launch tower the morning after that static fire? SpaceX did not announce this. A camera crew caught it. This is Pad 2. Nobody has ever launched from here. Look at the flame trench. It splits in 2 directions simultaneously. That is a brand new design. The water deluge system underneath it dumps millions of liters of water the instant the engines fire, not to cool the rocket, but to kill the acoustic shock wave. Because at 20 million pounds of thrust, sound itself becomes a weapon. Those pressure waves travel back up into the engine bells and can destroy the engines from the inside before the rocket even clears the tower. On May 7th, the first ignition attempt failed. The detonation suppression system fired, then stopped. No water. Engineers aborted. They cycled the countdown. Second attempt, it worked. 14 seconds, full thrust, every engine. And then the cameras showed something. Overnight, a repair crew was on the chopstick arm. A component called a skate, part of the carriage system on the tower that is used to position the catch arms, was found damaged, removed, replaced before dawn. SpaceX did not publish a statement. They just fixed it and kept moving. That is the part of this story that should make you nervous. Not the damage itself. Hardware gets damaged. What should make you nervous is the timeline. Static fire on May 7th. Damage found that night. Repairs done by May 9th. And the launch window opens days later. There is no margin here. Zero. SpaceX is running at the absolute edge of what is physically possible. And there is one decision SpaceX is hiding inside Flight 12, a choice that tells you exactly how much they trust this rocket. And the hidden decision inside Flight 12's mission profile is SpaceX is not catching this booster. After successfully catching Booster 12 with the Mechazilla arms in October 2024, one of the most jaw-dropping moments in aerospace history, they are not doing it again. Not this time. Booster 19 is going straight into the Gulf of Mexico, splashdown, on purpose. Why? Because they do not trust the new hardware enough to slam it into a tower they just repaired. Think about what that admission means. This is the most powerful rocket ever built. SpaceX has been flying Starship for 3 years, and with this new V3 booster, new engines, new fins, new everything, they're starting the evaluation from zero. They need to see how it actually behaves during supersonic re-entry before that booster gets anywhere near the catch arms. Look at the grid fins on Booster 19. 3 fins instead of 4, 50% larger. This new geometry gives dramatically more control during descent, but it is untested at real re-entry velocities, untested at real dynamic pressures, untested on a vehicle that weighs significantly more than anything SpaceX has previously caught. The trajectory itself is also new. Flight 12 flies south, threading a narrow corridor between Jamaica and Cuba, then between the Caribbean islands, a path designed specifically to keep debris over open water in the event of a breakup. That last part is not a routine precaution. That is SpaceX acknowledging out loud that this vehicle might not survive. £20 million of thrust, and it is still nothing. I will show you a force that makes Starship look like a spark. SpaceX just built the most powerful rocket in human history. It damaged its own launch tower testing it. Its predecessor exploded before it ever flew, and they are launching it anyway, days from now, on a pad nobody has ever launched from, on a trajectory designed to contain the debris if it breaks apart. That is not recklessness. That is what it looks like when a species decides it is done being trapped on one planet. 20.3 million pounds of thrust, the hard ceiling of what we can currently build, the absolute maximum output of human engineering in the year 2026. And in the universe around us, right now, there are objects generating gravitational forces so extreme that they shred matter at the atomic level. Not metaphorically, literally. The atoms that make up your body would be stretched into a thread thinner than a strand of light. No engine survives it. No structure survives it. Physics itself stops working the way you learned it does. If you want to know what that actually looks like, the exact point where a human body crosses into a black hole's event horizon, and what happens in the seconds after, the video on your screen right now shows it in a way that will physically make you uncomfortable. Click it right now. I will see you there.